Welcome to the Stoic Tide. What if I told you that most people today are living in quiet defeat? Not because they lack talent, but because they lack mental strength. We scroll, we compare, we envy, and then we wonder why we feel stuck, weak, or lost. We chase comfort, yet feel exhausted. We avoid pain, yet suffer daily. The truth is hard. Comfort is killing us slowly, while struggle, though harsh, holds the seed of real power. But here's the twist. The ancient Stoics knew this long before smartphones, social media, or self-help books. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's not just a quote. That's a weapon, a mindset, a way to live in chaos and remain unshaken. Stoicism doesn't make life easy. It makes you unstoppable. In this video, we're diving deep into 8 brutal Stoic laws that will force you to level up mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Not inspirational fluff. Real talk, real change. Each of these laws is drawn from raw Stoic truth battle tested in ancient Rome and still painfully relevant today. Before we begin, I need you to do one thing. If you're serious about growth, don't just sit back and watch this like another motivational clip. This isn't background noise. This is your wake-up call. Like this video right now, drop a comment as we go through, especially when a point hits hard. Share it with someone who needs this. And most importantly, don't skip any part, because even one missed law could cost you clarity or courage in a moment that matters most. Let's begin. Number 1, embrace discomfort like a friend. We've been taught to run from pain, but the Stoics taught the opposite. Run toward it, eyes open. Think about your greatest growth moment. Did it happen when you were comfortable, relaxed, and everything was easy? Or did it happen when life punched you in the face and you had to choose rise or stay broken? Marcus Aurelius faced wars, betrayal, illness, and still led with calm. He didn't avoid discomfort. He invited it to shape him. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. That's not poetic fluff. That's law. Every obstacle, a chance to sharpen your will. Every delay, a test of patience. Every rejection, a teacher of resilience. Modern life tells us, avoid pain. Stoicism whispers back, train for it. That cold shower, a test. That hard conversation, a path. That gym session when you're exhausted, that's where your character is being carved. The Stoics believed that by choosing controlled discomfort, you prepare for the chaos of life. So when the storm hits, you're already built for it. Seneca, another Stoic, practiced sleeping on the floor, eating plain food, wearing old clothes, not out of self-hate, but self-training. Why? Because then when life strips away your comfort, you're not shocked. You're ready. And here's the truth. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your mirror. It shows you who you really are and, more importantly, who you're becoming. We avoid small pain today only to suffer bigger pain tomorrow. But if you lean in, walk through that fire with awareness, something wild happens. You stop fearing the pain, and that's the beginning of freedom. From now on, see discomfort like a sparring partner. It might bruise you, but it's building you. Choose one small discomfort today and do it. No debate, cold shower, deep talk, sit with boredom. Remind yourself this is how warriors are forged, because the only way to become unstoppable is to stop running. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. Discomfort is my training ground. Number 2, stop being owned by your emotions. How often do your emotions control your day? Someone says something rude and you snap. Plans change and your whole mood shifts. You feel lazy, so you skip the gym, the work, the discipline. It's not just you, it's all of us. But the brutal truth, if you are ruled by your emotions, you are a slave to them. And the Stoics believed that slavery to emotion is worse than chains on your wrists. Epictetus, a former slave turned Stoic teacher, said, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master." They can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by them. Let that sink in. That person who cut you off in traffic, you just handed them your peace. That breakup, you handed it your identity. That one rude comment online, you gave it your joy. You see, Stoicism doesn't ask you to ignore emotions. It teaches you to observe them, understand them, and respond instead of react. The difference between a child and a Stoic. The child throws a tantrum. The Stoic sits in the storm and thinks. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time, wrote in his private journal, which became Meditations. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. That's the kind of control we rarely talk about. The power to not be shaken by what doesn't deserve our energy. And yes, it's brutal because it means you can't blame others anymore. You can't say, He made me mad or she ruined my day. You realize it's all you. The reaction, that was your choice. But here's the empowering part. You can choose again. You don't have to be a slave to your feelings. You can feel anger without acting in anger. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel sadness without drowning in it. That's emotional strength. That's stoic freedom. Try this next time you feel triggered. Pause. Don't act. Breathe. Ask, is this feeling useful right now? Respond with intention. This isn't being robotic. It's being in control. When you stop being owned by your emotions, you become clear, calm, powerful. You show up steady and people notice. You don't get pushed around by every little thing anymore. You're grounded. And in today's emotionally chaotic world, that kind of stability, it's rare. It's magnetic. It's unstoppable. Real growth begins when you stop being a puppet and start being the master. Number 3, stop expecting fairness. Life owes you nothing. One of the fastest ways to suffer is to expect life to be fair. Let that settle for a second. You work hard and someone lazier gets the promotion. You love deeply and they walk away. You do the right thing and still get punished. And then the anger comes. This isn't fair. But here's the Stoic truth. Fairness is a myth we create, not a rule of the universe. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You can commit injustice by doing nothing." Even he, Emperor of Rome, saw injustice every day. But instead of whining, blaming, or spiraling into despair, he grounded himself in one unshakable idea. Life is not about fairness. Life is about strength. The Stoics never expected life to treat them kindly. They expected pain, loss, betrayal, change. And because they expected it, they were ready for it. Let's get brutally honest. Fairness is a beautiful idea, but it can also make you weak if you cling to it too tightly. When we say, "This isn't fair," what we're often saying is, "I don't like how this feels and I don't want to deal with it." But here's the law. You don't grow by expecting fairness. You grow by facing reality and moving forward anyway. Look around. Bad things happen to good people. Evil people sometimes win. Effort doesn't always equal reward. That's not negativity. That's life. Now here's what separates the average from the unstoppable. The average person waits for fairness. The Stoic, they build power within so strong that nothing external can break them. This doesn't mean you become cold or heartless. It means you stop waiting for the world to treat you right and start treating yourself right, regardless of how the world behaves. Seneca once said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage, especially when life seems unfair." Here's what you do. Instead of complaining, you use the pain as fuel. You build skills so strong they can't be ignored. You love deeply without expectation. You face betrayal and walk forward with dignity. The Stoic approach is radical responsibility. Not because it's always your fault, but because it's always your move. You don't get to control how life hits, but you always get to control how you respond. And that response, that grounded, calm, warrior-like response, that's what makes you unstoppable. Fairness is not promised, but freedom is earned, one powerful choice at a time. Number 4, focus on what you can control. Let go of the rest. The Stoics believe that your power lies in a very small, specific place inside your control. Everything outside of that, let it go. Epictetus said it simply, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Here's the trap most people fall into. They try to control other people. They try to predict the future. They obsess over outcomes. And then they wonder why they feel anxious, powerless, angry. But let's break it down. What is truly under your control? Your thoughts, your choices, your actions, your response. Everything else, opinion, chance, uncertainty. You can't control the weather, but you can control how you dress. You can't control whether people like you, but you can control how you treat them. You can't control the economy, but you can control how much you learn, how you spend, how you prepare. That shift in focus is massive. It gives you back your power instead of being pulled in 100 directions by things you can't affect. You stand strong, centered in your own actions. Imagine you're in a storm at sea. The Stoic doesn't scream at the wind. He grabs the wheel and navigates the ship. That's what makes you calm when others panic, focused when others complain, disciplined when others drift. It's not about pretending the outside world doesn't matter. It's about deciding what gets your attention, and 90% of what people worry about completely outside their control. Here's a simple practice. Every time you feel stressed, ask yourself, is this within my control? If yes, act. If no, let go. Simple. Yes. Easy. Nah. Powerful. Absolutely. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And when you live this, people notice. You become unshakable. Not because you control everything, but because you control yourself no matter what happens. Number 5. Practice voluntary hardship to build unbreakable will. In a world addicted to comfort, discipline becomes a superpower. The Stoics didn't wait for life to challenge them. They challenged themselves first. Not to suffer, but to strengthen. Not to punish, but to prepare. Seneca once wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition I feared?'" This was voluntary hardship, a chosen moment of discomfort in order to build a mind that wouldn't crack under pressure. Now think about this. Most people today avoid discomfort at all costs. They never skip a meal. They never sit in silence. They never go without convenience. But what happens when life does get hard? They break. They panic. They blame. The Stoic, they've already trained for the hard days. They've already practiced hunger, fatigue, rejection, boredom, struggle. That doesn't make them invincible. It makes them adaptable. You don't build willpower by watching motivational videos. You build it by doing the thing you don't want to do on purpose. Voluntary hardship could look like this: fasting for 24 hours to remind yourself that you control your urges, taking a cold shower when your mind screams no, saying no to a luxury you can afford just to sharpen your self-restraint, waking up early to train when your body craves the bed. These small choices, they stack, and over time you become dangerous. Not because you're cruel to yourself, but because you realize the truth. Comfort doesn't make you stronger. Challenge does. And when hardship comes, as it always does, you don't run. You smile because you've already walked the fire by choice. Marcus Aurelius ruled during plagues, wars, and betrayals. Yet he wrote with calm and clarity. Why? Because hardship wasn't a shock to him, it was expected. And when hardship is expected, it loses its power to paralyze you. So instead of asking, "How can I make life easier?" ask, "How can I become stronger?" Practice being hungry. Practice being alone. Practice being cold, tired, rejected, bored, and remaining focused through all of it, because one day life will throw more at you than you think you can handle. And when it does, you'll rise. Number 6, detach from outcomes. Fall in love with the process. We've been taught to obsess over results. Get the job, win the deal, hit the goal, earn the money, be admired. But Stoicism flips the script. Detach from the outcome and master your process. Why? Because the result is never guaranteed, but your effort is always within your control. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." When you cling to results, you set yourself up for suffering. You hit the gym for a week, don't see abs, you quit. You launch a project, it flops, you feel worthless. You love someone, they leave, you collapse. But what if instead you fell in love with the work itself? The showing up, the writing, the building, the thinking, the learning, the effort. That's the Stoic path. Because when you focus on the process, you always win, even if the result isn't what you imagined. And here's the kicker. Ironically, when you let go of needing the outcome, you start to achieve more because you're not desperate. You're not emotional. You're not driven by validation. You're grounded in action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to with the same weapons of reason, which today arm you against the present." Meaning, stop obsessing over what might happen. Just work your process with courage right now. If you're a writer, write not to go viral, but to sharpen your mind. If you're an athlete, train not just to win, but to master your body. If you're building something, build not for applause, but for pride in the effort. The moment you tie your worth to outcomes, you become fragile. The moment you tie your worth to discipline, intention, and focus, you become unstoppable. Here's a Stoic mindset shift. Show up like the result is already done, and you're just enjoying the craft, whether you fail or succeed. Bonus, you've already won because you did the work. Number 7, embrace death. Live with urgency and purpose. Most people live like they're going to live forever. They waste time, delay dreams, stay stuck in bad habits and worse relationships. But the Stoics meditated on death not to be dark, but to wake up. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." That's not fear. That's freedom. It's the realization that life is short and we don't get to choose when it ends. So every moment wasted is a moment we never get back. Let that hit you. You don't get to wait for someday. You don't get to keep telling yourself, "I'll do it later." You don't get to assume that tomorrow is guaranteed. The Stoics practiced something called memento mori. Remember, you will die. They didn't say it to be grim. They said it to stay focused, present, and intentional. Because when you truly realize that your time is limited, you stop wasting it. You stop scrolling for hours. You stop arguing over meaningless things. You stop tolerating mediocrity, and you start creating, loving, moving. Now, not later. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." You might not control how long you live, but you do control how deeply you live. And the most dangerous lie is this: there's plenty of time. No, there isn't. That risk you keep avoiding, that business you keep postponing, that person you keep meaning to forgive, that change you keep saying you'll make next year, this is your moment. This is your time. The Stoic doesn't ignore death. He stares it in the face and says, "You will not catch me sleeping on my life." This awareness doesn't make you anxious. It makes you alive, because the person who truly remembers death speaks truthfully, loves openly, works with urgency, lets go of ego, stops fearing failure because the ultimate failure is a wasted life. Live like you're on borrowed time because you are. And when you do, you become magnetic, focused, powerful. You don't chase cheap validation. You move with purpose. People feel it. You feel it. Number 8, be a warrior for virtue, not approval. Let's be honest. Most people live for likes, praise, attention, applause. But the Stoic doesn't move for the crowd. The Stoic moves for virtue. Marcus Aurelius said, "Just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter." In other words, live with honor even if no one sees it. Speak the truth even if no one claps. Keep your word even if it costs you. Train hard even when nobody's watching. That's virtue. That's what builds a soul that can't be bought. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being principled. Now, here's the hard part. Doing the right thing is often the hard thing. It's easier to lie. It's easier to impress than to be authentic. It's easier to chase approval than to stand alone. But every time you choose what's right over what's easy, you sharpen your edge. You become someone your future self can admire. You build an identity that no one can take from you. Seneca reminds us, "I will govern my life and thoughts as if the whole world were to see the one and read the other." That's power. That's a life that doesn't crumble under pressure because it's built on integrity. In a world of image, the Stoic is real. In a world of noise, the Stoic is still. In a world of performance, the Stoic is genuine. You want to be unstoppable. Don't live for praise. Live for your values. Live in a way that even if stripped of status, money, followers, you'd still stand tall. Because the moment you stop needing the crowd, you become the kind of person they follow anyway. Be the warrior for what's right, not what's popular. And even if you walk alone, walk like it's the only path that matters. If you've made it this far, it means something deep inside you is ready to evolve. To leave behind the distractions, the weakness, the emotional chaos, and step into something greater. Not perfection, but power. Not domination over others, but mastery over yourself. That's the Stoic path. It doesn't offer you comfort. It offers you clarity. It offers you direction. It offers you a life of meaning, even when the world around you is crumbling. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus. They didn't write for a world that was easy. They wrote to survive storms, battles, betrayals, and death with dignity. They taught us that true strength isn't in muscles or money. It's in the man who keeps his word, the woman who faces fear without flinching, the soul who does the right thing, especially when it's the hard thing. You don't need to wait for motivation. You don't need the perfect moment. You just need to begin right now. Train your mind. Expect struggle. Detach from outcomes. Hold your principles. Live like your time is running out. Because it is. And the beautiful part, you don't need applause. You don't need praise. You don't need anyone to understand you. Because when you walk the Stoic path, you become unshakable from within. And that kind of strength, it's rare, it's real, and it's yours. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments.